Larry Sharpe has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharpe Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio. So happy to have you here with me this afternoon. And being on WYSL Rochester, New York is great because it allows me to keep talking about New York specific issues. And you might say, Larry, that sounds good, but this is out of Rochester, New York. It is. And I often comment out of New York City. Why? Because very often what happens in my broken city affects the entire state. And if you're going to talk to me, you can. 585-346-3000. And I do want to bring up a story from almost 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago, I thought of this story because of some other friends I was talking to this weekend. And it's a story about a buddy of mine I knew from the Marine Corps. And he was here in early 2001, New York City, visiting me. We were chatting, being friends. We were in Manhattan. I was showing him around. I took him to a bunch of places in Manhattan, showed him we went to like Empire State Building, a bunch of other places, cool places where you could like buy specialty items. I'll say that. A lot of fun things that we enjoyed. And he said, I said, look, you should go to the Twin Towers. We should go there. He said, not this time. We've seen so much. And for those of you who know New York City back then, if you were walking in different parts of Manhattan, depending upon where you were, particularly at night, you could look into the Twin Towers lit up. And it was an impressive sight. And we saw them. And he said, we'll do it next time. I said, okay. He left. That September, that was the end of the Twin Towers. There was no next time for him to see them. So when I think about that, I always talk about the idea of coming to see New York City. I speak about it often. I talk about the glory and the beauty of New York State in general all the time. Why? Because it's true. New York State is the most amazing state. I don't care if you don't live in our state. You're wrong. Ours is the most emotional, the most beautiful state. It just is. Everything you can imagine is here. And on top of all the beauty and amazingness of New York State, we also have the largest city in the country by far, with some of the greatest culture, some of the greatest things to see, some of the most diversity when it comes to food and restaurants and culture. And classic culture on top of it all, and cutting edge culture. All the things are here. So I had another friend, recently visit New York City. When she came, I wasn't here. I was physically gone when she came here. And she walked around a bit and told me later what she said. And what she told me was, New York City seems messy. That's the word she used. Messy. I thought, did she mean dirty? Is that what she thought? So I called her and I asked her. I said, what happened? Right? Was it dirty? She goes, yeah, but I kind of expected that. But like people around. And then I couldn't see a lot of the buildings. Everything seemed to be under construction. And I thought, oh, that's what she means. The look of New York City. Why do you care? What happens and what matters is people need to be coming to New York City and New York State as tourists. We should be supporting that like there's no tomorrow. That is the beauty of New York State. That's the beauty of New York City, is tourism. Come and visit. I say it all the time. Now, you probably shouldn't live in this city. It's not a great place to live right now. It is not. But to visit, oh my God, yes, of course you should visit my city. It's an amazing city to visit, except it isn't. Because the government goes out of its way to stop even that. Even that. You might think, Larry, if you were mayor or governor, what would you be worried about? I said it before. If I was the governor, I'd be the marketer in chief. Come to my state, see my beauty, spend your money, grow my state. I was open about that. If I was mayor of New York City, come to my city, see our glory, enjoy our glory, spend your money, grow my city. I would be open about that. I still am. What is our mayor here in New York City doing? He's making things worse. And I'll give you 3 examples of what's happening. Of course, in each case, it's to make people safer. That's number 1, or to help the environment. Always those 2 things. That's all that matters, even though it crushes everything else. I mean, there's 1,000 things, but the most recent things drive me crazy. Number 1, right now, we've got this new thing in New York City called the Skip the Stuff Law. Maybe you heard of this. What this means is now, if you're delivering food, I'm not joking, you can't put utensils and condiments in the bag unless the customer requests it. If they don't request it and you send it, I'm not joking, you send utensils and or condiments, you'll be fined $250. Now, who does that affect? The small diner and store owner, of course. It affects them. Now, who else does it affect? Well, if you don't give the condiments and the utensils to someone who lives in New York City, that might suck, but they'll get over it because they probably have utensils and stuff in their home. They probably do. But what if you're a tourist and you want some cool takeout that you heard about from your friend? Where's your utensils? Where's your condiments? Back in your house in Iowa or Minnesota or upstate New York or Georgia or wherever you came to visit us, or Europe or Asia, wherever you came from to visit us. Well, tough to get them here, isn't it? Hurts tourists. Hurts small businesses, hurts tourists. And the goal is, I'm not joking, because we're creating too much waste. I'm not joking. So the priority of New York City is stopping the waste. Let me be very forward. Very forward. Do you think these small businesses and restaurants want to spend thousands of dollars every year on condiments, napkins, and plastic forks and spoons? Of course not. If they could, they would give nothing because that's an extra expense for them. Of course not. They're giving it because they believe their customers want it. Right? They're not saying, oh, I can't wait to waste my money and on this. Of course not. So instead, we could just do a campaign saying, hey, if you don't want to do that, if you want to be a good person, I'm doing good in quotes, then please ask your restaurant to not send you the condiments and the plastic spoons and forks. Done. Everything solved. No need for a law, no need for fines, no need for more now condiment police, which New York City will create because they must create more jobs, because government is the only thing that creates jobs in the city. None is required. Just say, hey, if you don't want it because you're going to be a good person because you're saving the planet, aren't we always saving the planet? No straws, save the planet. Now it's no plastics, forks and spoons, no napkins and condiments. We're all saving the planet. No, we're always saving the planet on the backs of small businesses and people who order takeout. That's who we're saving the planet on their backs. Now, what happens when I get my meal and there's no condiments or plastic spoons in it because I didn't know I had to ask for it because I'm a tourist, so I didn't know, or because I didn't hear this law, or I forgot, whatever, insert reason, it's not there. What am I going to think? They screwed me over. Can't believe how bad they are. I'm not going to go to that place anymore. Or worse, the guy or gal who's busting their rum to deliver the food to me, I'm going to punish them. I'm not tipping now. That'll teach them. This is just making everything worse for the tourists, for the people who are visiting us, and for the workers who are working in these jobs to deliver us our food, and the small businesses and restaurants. Yes. Wait a minute, Larry, it'll also affect the big guys. No, it won't. They will ignore all the fines and fees. That's number one. And at the end of the year, they negotiate with the city to lower them. They all do that all the time. They just negotiate. Oh, we owe you $1 million. We'll give you $250. Don't go to court. And they go, okay, great, fine, take it. So they sell it for 25 cents on a dollar and move on. The small guy gets hammered, gets destroyed. The big guy just negotiates at the end. Who cares? Big guys, again, not affected at all. Little guys destroyed. That's who's punished. They do it all the time. But we're still not done. On top of that, she said messy. What did she mean? Everything's under construction. Everything's not under construction in New York City. We have scaffolding everywhere across the city. Now, I'm not joking, 81 miles of scaffolding all along the city. You might go, Larry, why does it matter? 2 reasons. 1, you can't see the architecture of the city. Why are you coming here to be a tourist if you can't look up in awe and go, oh my God, look at these great buildings? You can't do that because there's scaffolding everywhere. Not just that. Scaffolding covers the bottom part of the building. What's at the bottom part of buildings? Individual stores that people now can't see and can't go visit. And now they get hammered because they now can't, their sign they spent thousands of dollars to create is now gone. Their imagery they created is now gone. You can't see it because you have scaffolding all over it. This has been true for years, decades, and just getting worse. We are not supporting tourists. We are not supporting small businesses. We're trying to save the world on the backs of the people who need the most help. That's New York City. That's New York State. The most progressive state of them all. Am I wrong? Tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Back with your calls and your internet chat after the break.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution.
Yeah, and it would also help too if the city didn't smell like one great big urinal.
Business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to put your city down, but I remember when it was a lot nicer. Not too long ago.
At 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
To live the quality of life we deserve in truth and freedom, informed by our Constitution, our laws, and traditions, we need to pick the best leaders possible. Recent experience certainly illustrates that. Free and accurate elections are essential if we're going to restore our society and safeguard our rights. New York Citizens Audit is a volunteer, nonpartisan group which has been lobbying for open source audits of the State Board of Elections and reform of the electoral process statewide. Did you know Citizens Audit has uncovered over 1 million felony violations of election law? That in 2020, there were 625,000 more voter registrations than existing voting age citizens in just 6 New York counties, that there were 338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted. These are just a few shocking examples of the urgent need for reform. You can help. Visit auditny.com and learn the facts, how to volunteer, and make a difference in your community. Again, volunteer, donate, or spread the word. Start at auditny.com. That's auditny.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. I was talking before the break about how the city is going out of its way to save the environment, to help us all by crushing tourism, small businesses, and delivery personnel. Yeah. Meanwhile, the big heavy hitters, no change whatsoever to our lifestyle, no change to anything, and still the world's supposedly going under for nothing. It is insane, this giveaway to people and not the people who actually need to gain the most. And I then talked about scaffolding and the sheds or the scaffolding throughout the city. There are 81 miles of that throughout New York City. Crushing small business, taking away the look of New York City. Why would that happen? Why would you want to do that, right? Seems insane. Seems stupid. Why would you cover up the greatest parts of New York City? Why would you do that? Well, it's for safety, of course, because they care about you. Don't you feel the love? I do. I feel the love. There was a problem in New York City with falling debris. As you can imagine, there are many, many very tall buildings in New York City. There's something like 14,000 of them that are over 6 stories, something like that. So I think it's 15K. 15,000, I think that's right, in that area of buildings in New York City that are over 6 stories high. That's how many high rises that we have in this city. Tons of them. And sometimes falling debris kills people. That's a thing. It does happen. But it's, believe it or not, insanely rare. Does happen though, but it is insanely rare. So because it happened to one person that someone got upset about, they decided to make this law. It's called the Local 11 law. What happens here in New York City is every 5 years, you must fix your facade. What if it's not broken? Doesn't matter. You must fix it. Well, what if it's not wrong with it? Doesn't matter. You must fix it. If you don't, you get a fine. You get a fine of something like X thousands of dollars. I think it's like $5,000 a month or something like that. You get a fine if you don't fix it. Okay, got it. So what do? They put up a scaffolding, say they're fixing it, and then don't fix it. Why? Well, once you have the scaffolding up, if anything falls, it falls into the scaffold. No one's going to die. That's fine. Done. And if the scaffolding's up and you're fixing it, you don't get fined anymore. So if your fine was going to be $60,000 a year as a fine, but it only costs you a couple $1,000s to keep the maintenance of the scaffolding up every year, you just keep the scaffolding up. There's businesses and buildings that have had the scaffolding up for 10 years. I'm not joking. Just keep it up. They don't care.
Michael Rochester.
So all that matters is they keep it up, destroying what it looks like to keep the city happy. And the city did absolutely nothing about it because they passed this law to save us. And then whatever happens, who cares? Nobody seems to care except the people who come here and see New York City as messy. And the small businesses who are wasting their time and money trying to brand themselves. It doesn't work. Crushing small business, emptying out storefronts, and making tourists not want to come back. Instead of just saying, hey, if there's a problem, we're going to hammer you. So get stronger insurance. And then insurance companies will then force you to create better facades that will protect the people. That's how it would work. You'd make a facade that would protect the people, right? They didn't do that. It would have changed the look of New York City in a very nice way, in an architecturally beautiful way. It would have made things different. It would have made safe architecture make sense. It would have actually spurred building and jobs, people building out cool facades that were safer. Now, rules, regulations, fines. Yes. I'm going to grab a call if I can. I'm not sure who this is. Who am I speaking to on this call?
Larry, it's Mike.
Mike, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. Hey, New York State's becoming the Bud Light of tourism.
Okay. Go
All
ahead.
right, because our cities are made, are fantastic, but the crime is outrageous. So
Yes.
you get conservatives to come here and like, okay, I can't legally carry a defensive weapon of any sort.
Right.
Okay. My chances of becoming a victim of crime is very high. All the rules and regulations, people don't want to come here. Okay. I preach New York State all the time. Okay. Yep. I'm a lifelong New York State person, and my final resting spot's here. Okay.
Yep.
It's already paid for. So, but I preach it. And last year we had out of town relatives come in, and I'm showing them around, and they haven't been here for decades. And I'm like, they're like, oh my God, I forgot how beautiful New York was.
Yes.
Because the only thing is, we see New York all the time. We they keep an eye on Rochester and the statistics, and New York City, and we took them down to the Finger Lakes and up to Lake Ontario and all
100%.
around.
Beautiful.
Right. And people don't realize, they're like, oh my God, you have so much water here. You have so green. You're
Yes,
so beautiful.
all of it.
Exactly.
So let me touch what you're talking about. You've touched, I should say, the piece that too many people are not touching. What is going to build New York City up? What's going to build New York State up? Two separate pieces, but they equal the same. New York State, meaning upstate New York, not New York City, it's heavily going to be based upon the natural beauty and resources of New York State. New York City, it's heavily going to be based upon the culture of New York City, right? That is what draws people in. The history, the culture, the diversity of food and entertainment you can get in New York City. Those are the two things that draw us. But both of those things equal one thing: tourism. You either like the natural beauty, in which case you spend more time upstate New York, or you like the crazy culture that we have in New York City, so you go there. Hopefully both. You are correct. And I would ask you, what governor candidate, what mayoral candidate, what senator, what president, what anything who represents our state has been talking about that? The most important piece to grow our state back. Any?
Other than you.
Just me.
As a governor, other than you as a governor candidate. Not a Hochul, not a Cuomo, certainly not a Chucky, or even what's the other one up in even the North Country there? You only see her head pop up as the senator. She only pops up every once in a great while. Gillibrand. She's up from the North Country. You think the Adirondacks? Beautiful place. Okay. Yep. You think she would be? Hey, I'm on commercials in other states. Come to New York. Come to New York. You don't hear those. It's like,
not
wait a minute.
all.
It's like
100%.
Nope. All right.
So, Mike, thank you for the call. I appreciate you bringing this up.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Look, I don't mean to press on this issue too much. That's not true. I do. I literally mean to press. I do. I literally mean to press on this issue, right? Because all I see is things that make things worse in the name of safety and or our environment or whatever the case may be. Another part that drives me crazy in New York City, a little bit off topic, but still on topic, is how loud, if you live in New York City, you'll know this, how loud the police cars and the ambulances are. And the goal was, well, because people have headphones in, we have to make it louder. Well, there are deaf people in New York also, and somehow they figure it out. How? Because there's flashing lights and people moving and stuff. And yes, you don't have to have it so loud. It's so loud in New York City that there can be an ambulance 6 or 7 blocks away. I'm not joking, more. And you can hear it like it's next door. And if there's any traffic, it stays outside for minutes, blaring and blaring and blaring. And you might say, Larry, why do I care about that? We're saving lives. First off, you're not saving lives. Nothing moves faster because you're louder. No lives have been saved because of this. None. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I'm trying to enjoy my city, whether I'm sitting with my family and friends watching a show, whether I'm outside trying to have a conversation with my friend, walking my dog. Doesn't matter. I'm trying to enjoy my city and I can't because everything is so damn loud. What if I want to shoot a movie? You might go, does that matter? Yes, New York City used to be crazily friendly to movies. One thing I'm going to give Bloomberg. I'm not a huge fan. However, I always give credit where credit was due. Bloomberg was amazing when it came to giving the entertainment industry in New York City. He was bar none. He would let people make movies here, TV shows here. He was awesome for that. That he was. We can't do that either. Every 5 minutes there's an ambulance screaming. But more importantly, it makes people afraid all over. It's not the right answer. Am I wrong? 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL Rochester, New York. Back with your calls. And I promise you guys who are chatting, your internet chat after the break.
For truth and freedom.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newstead NBC Weather Center for tonight, but mainly clear skies, a nice full moon shining bright. Temperatures on the cool side, dipping into the 50s. A couple of towns might see some upper 40s.
Please excuse me if I've said this to you before, but New York is not the Empire State. It's the Umpire State.
Thunderstorm Thursday, back up into the low to mid 80s. Staying warm and buggy with some showers Friday.
Feel free to.
I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, as you well know, I mean, New York City was the capital of television in the U.S. You know, back when Walt Disney was planning, you know, Disneyland and even, you know, his first feature movies, he traveled back and forth from California to New York for his business deals on a regular basis.
Enjoy the summer weather in comfort and style with a perfect piece for your home and yard.
Yep.
Springwater Amish Workshop's famous products include storage sheds, gazebos, picnic pavilion, greenhouses, chicken coops, lighthouses, windmills, and wishing wells. It's a beautiful drive to Springwater, so pile the family in the car for a quick scenic ride and come see for yourself these outstanding American-made Amish-built products. Springwater Amish Workshop is easy to find at 7936 Mill Street, Route 15 in Springwater, open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturdays 9 to 3. SpringwaterAmishWorkshop.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8
Yeah,
years
for
in a
whatever
row.
it's worth, I've been to Coney Island a couple times. I have a good friend who lives in Bensonhurst, you know, Coney Island is a magical place, but I have not been there in several years because, as you well know, the area has not gotten any better.
SimpleTech Innovations.
The hot savings on road fun continues.
Yeah, and the thing is, I visited it during the day, and I wanted to visit it at night, but I cherish my life too much.
Compass Limited 4x4, only $279 a month for 36 months, with $3,500 down. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. A 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L Limited 4x4 is just $389 a month for 24 months. $2,500 down. Must be Conquest lessee. The 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe Sport Utility is just $349 a month for 24 months. $2,500 down. Choose from 4 in-stock 23 Ram Bighorn Crew and Quad Cab pickups. 10% off. All these deals require first payment, DMV, taxes and fees due at site. 10,000 miles per year. Other conditions may apply. See dealer for details. We welcome Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and Finger Lakes. The selection and deals are great at the most beautiful new vehicle sales and service dealership in the area, Victor Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Now it's 6484 Route 96, just east of Victor.
WYSL.
Honey, we need help. Our air conditioner wasn't working very well last year, and it's going to get hot soon.
Well, why don't I call Taylor today and schedule an AC tune-up? It'll probably also save us on our utility bill.
Great idea. And we should have an AC tune-up done before every summer, so we're sure when the heat is on outside, our AC is working inside.
A Taylor AC tune-up. Pretty smart, if I say so myself.
Call Taylor. 500 help.
Genesee your path with GCC. GCC offers #1 value for a community college in Western New York. 60-plus academic programs that are transferable too. Hands-on training in our state-of-the-art labs for solar electric technician, criminal justice, and healthcare. On-campus student housing. Registration is now open. Apply for free online at genesee.edu/apply. Start your journey today.
Feel the thunder and experience the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds and more at the 2023 AP Property Services Rochester Air Show. Ticket options online now at rockairshow.com. USA, August 12th and 13th.
Dependable Disposal offers weekly residential service, just $25 a month plus tax. No surcharges. We'll take 3 extra bags weekly, no extra cost. Call Dependable Disposal, 585-505-1500.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. Larry Sharpe here on WYSL Rochester, New York. Sharpe Way Radio, 585-346-3000. I have been talking about the beauty of New York State and New York City, 2 separate types of beauty and interest, but all about tourism. And if we're going to grow this state, we have got to bring people back to the state. They've got to want to come back, visit, enjoy it, spend money, building up local businesses, building up local communities, and then deciding, do we want to stay or not? Do we want to have our family come back or not? Do we have enough warm and fuzzy memories of this beautiful state to where I want to bring my family here again, or any of those things? Sadly, we are not doing that well at all. So, yes. Let me grab a couple of comments if I could. Nate says, just like the plastic law bag makes somebody feel good, but useless in principle. And not just that. You're right, Nate. But the plastic bag law, what did it do? So now what most people in cities do, and I know New York City too, when we would go to a grocery store or something, we would use the plastic bag to bring our groceries or whatever it is home. Then we take those same bags and use them as garbage bags for our garbage. That's what we would do. So we'd actually reuse the bag more than once to put the garbage out. Common thing. So now we don't do that anymore. So now what do we do? Well, now we have to either buy a bag from the place more, or have our own bags now. So now we have to have bags around our house. Remember to carry them. Why? Because here's the problem. In New York City and other cities, and if you live in a city, you know, sometimes you forget something. So I have to go quickly pick something up, particularly if I'm walking around my neighborhood. A common thing in New York City, here in Queens, often. Well, if I happen to forget my bag, now I got to go home to get my bag before I go back to buy my product, or I have to hold my product or service my product in my hand, or I have to go buy a bag. I'm now not going to go shopping, because when I get home, what am I going to do? I'm just going to go to Amazon and I'm going to order it instead. So now I'm ordering it. So either I'm ordering a delivery from a local place, we're using gas and everything else to get the guy here because they always have motorbikes in some way. So I'm using that. And he's bringing a bag with him. Probably a plastic bag. Anyways, he's going to bring it with him. Right? Or I'm ordering off Amazon and bringing more stuff in. Not just that. What do I do with my plastic bags in my house that I used to use for garbage? I order them online from Amazon and put them in my house anyway. So I'm still using the plastic bags. I have done nothing except hurt small business and spend more money and time and waste time in my life. It only makes the little guy feel worse. It makes their life harder. All of these laws make the life of New York State individual citizens harder. And you might go, Larry's plastic bags. You're right. That's just one thing. But now add 20 more things. Is the plastic law bag law itself, is that a bad thing that will make me leave? No, it's one thing. If that were the only bad thing in New York State, I would shut up. I wouldn't even run for governor if that was the only bad thing. If that was the only problem in New York State was the plastic bag law, I will shut up. It's fine. But as you know, Nate, it's dozens upon dozens of laws that makes things terrible. Yes, let me grab another one. Roger asks, how are they going to enforce this? I tell my workers to put it in the bag anyway. Well, yes, right? Here's the worst part, Roger. You made a very valid point. They're going to do it by either doing random inspections, hiring more utensil police, right? You mean the utensil law, I'm sorry, the utensil law and the condiment law in New York City now. Or they're just going to rely on someone reporting. So now, if I want to hurt a business, I just report and say, hey, New York City, Roger's restaurant, I'm mad at Roger. His restaurant gave me utensils and I didn't want them. Do you think they're going to need me to prove it or the company to prove it? The company's going to have to prove it. They're going to believe me 100% because I'm the victim here, not the business. Businesses by default in New York City are by default evil and by default wrong. That's how New York City works. By default, you're a business, you are wrong, and you are evil by default. You are always guilty. You must prove your innocence. So how are you going to prove your innocence? I'm going to show you some plastic utensils. You're going to pay. So yes, this law is bad at every level. It will put more small businesses out of business. It will hurt more and more people. Again, the big companies like the McDonald's and the franchise of the world, they'll be fine. They will take all of their penalties, and there'll be tons of them. At the end of the year, they will then negotiate them. By the way, that's how the big businesses do it with all the other things they do. They also, by the way, made a law that changes how bodegas can have their signs lit up because of, I don't know why, whatever the reason was. So a lot of bodegas said, well, I'm not going to have a sign anymore. I can't afford to fix it. So there's no sign. Other people, large organizations that have signs, kept their signs up. Will they be fined? Yeah. Happens all the time. So if I'm a KFC or I'm a McDonald's or whatever, I keep my sign up. What are you going to do? Fine me? You will. At the end of the year, you'll send a bill to KFC for $1 million. They'll have their lawyers who are on staff come to New York City and say, we'll pay you $200,000. And New York City will go, okay. So KFC will pay $200,000 per year, which is nothing for KFC. And that will come from corporate. They're legal. And it costs them nothing. They're laughing at that. That's the salary of one of their lawyers for a year. They don't care. They'll pay that. And they keep their sign. And the city will be happy. They just basically extorted KFC with $200,000 for free. Add that for the McDonald's and every other big company. New York City's happy to take the money. Meanwhile, punishing every small business owner. That's how that works all the time. So yes. So anyway, Michael Voss, glad you are with us today. No sound bites allowed. He says, the push to make New York City more corporate has destroyed small business. Yes. Yes. The engine of employment and growth. Yes. He says, Disney-fied 42nd Street hurt the city more than it helped. Ooh, that's controversial. You know, I don't have enough specific data to give you an opinion on that one, Mike. That's an interesting point. You and I will have to have a conversation about that because I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't have enough info to have a conversation on that. That's controversial. I like it, though. We should have that talk. Absolutely. So anyway, I like that one. So he also goes on to say that Mayor Koch was better for entertainment in New York City. What I say all the time is I try to give everybody credit where credit is due. Bloomberg had some problems. Clearly, he literally just bought himself a third term. Clearly corrupt. Yes. And he was good for entertainment. I'm just being forward. He was good for entertainment. And that's all I just want to put up is he was good for that. So yes. All righty. Let's see if I can go here. Peter says it's, he's talking about cannabis. He says cannabis is banned from growing freely because it's so useful and profitable. 100% yes, Peter. Those of you who know, I have spoken about how we legalize cannabis, and this falls right into the same place. Peter, you may think this is off. It's not off. Our governor, Her Majesty Queen Kathy I, first of her name, she has deemed that the only way to legally sell cannabis is if it's the people that she's deemed to be okay. She said this. Literally, to get a cannabis license, it will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars unless they pick you because you're one of their friends. Then you have an exception. Otherwise, you must pay that amount of money. And her stated goal is to allow local people to sell cannabis safely within their community. Okay, that's not a bad goal. I like that goal. That's a good goal. Okay. So what's happening right now in New York City with all the illegal stores? These are local people selling cannabis safely to their community. Happening now. So you would think, Peter, that she's happy now. Oh, yay. I have achieved my goal. Yeah. No. She has shut down 31 of those stores, proudly announced it in a press conference, how she has shut down 31 stores because they're not legal. So what she means is you can sell cannabis locally, safely to your community if you're one of my people. Otherwise, I'm shutting you down, I'm fining you and crushing you. Now, how do farmers benefit from this? They don't. Isn't that great? They also don't, because they can't afford the licenses either. And then they can't even function effectively on their own farms by selling it. So no, and they're not even banked. Even worse. Bad, bad, and bad. If you want your dealer and you like your dealer, you should keep your dealer. Peter goes on to say everybody loses. Nope. You're incorrect on that one, Peter. The rest you were right. On this one, you were incorrect. Because everybody doesn't lose. Who wins? Two people win. One, Her Majesty's friends. They win. So that's one. And number two, companies that are large real estate companies that buy lots of farms up all the time. They win completely. So I would say all of us lose, but somebody's winning. Somebody is winning. Absolutely. That is my issue. Ed says, not only that, it hurts businesses and non-union workers like me. Yes, agreed. Now, I'm not against union workers. If you know that, I've never been against union workers ever. I'm against the government saying they're better than others. That's a problem. Workers are workers, and if you want to be part of a union, awesome. If you want to work for the government, awesome. If you don't, also awesome. All good. We are all workers trying to make a living, trying to move forward in this state to feed our families. So, yes, that's the issue, 100%. And of course, Brian says, if only there was a black market to avoid the laws. Oh my God. I think we're going to cover that in a second, Brian. That's brilliant. Yeah. If only. That would be awesome. We can talk about that if you like when we come back. But right now, Larry Sharpe, 585-346-3000. Here on Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL Rochester, New York. Back with your calls and more of your chat. You guys keep chatting me up. I appreciate it. After the break.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating.
Okay, Larry, we just got 3 calls all at once. So the first one, the first one's going to be Voss.
That's 5. Do
you know him?
200-3182.
Okay. Then we've got Keith, and then we got Roger. So just feel free to be as short or quick as you want with them. When you say thank you for your call, I'll drop them, bring the other one in, and be ready.
Best leaders possible. Recent
You're welcome.
experience certainly illustrates that. Free and accurate elections are essential if we're going to restore our society and safeguard our rights. New York Citizens Audit is a volunteer, nonpartisan group which has been lobbying for open source audits of the State Board of Elections and reform of the electoral process statewide. Did you know Citizens Audit has uncovered over 1 million felony violations of election law, that in 2020 there were 625,000 more voter registrations than existing voting age citizens in just 6 New York counties, that there were 338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted. These are just a few shocking examples of the urgent need for reform. You can help. Visit auditny.com and learn the facts, how to volunteer, and make a difference in your community. Again, volunteer, donate, or spread the word. Start at auditny.com.
So just confirming, Voss, Keith,
Sharpe
and
Way
Roger.
Radio on the WYSL stations.
It is Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL Rochester, New York. So happy that you are joining me for the little chunk of the afternoon. So many things we've been talking about, but heavily focusing on one idea. The idea of bringing people back to New York State to enjoy the glory of this state, both the city and upstate, hopefully both, building up our small businesses, rebuilding our communities, and getting people to not only want to stay here, but also to come back. I'm going to grab a couple of calls if I could. The first one I'm going to grab is the man himself, Michael Voss. How are you, sir?
Hey, Larry. It's always good to be with you on a Tuesday. Loving the show.
Thank you. What's going on?
I think we missed something here. One of the key things, illegal aliens. Tourists are being denied hotel rooms. They're being pushed aside on the streets because of illegal aliens that are now clogging our streets, that are in our hotels. And it's not just New York, which is 10% of the GDP of the nation every year.
Right.
So it's a big deal. But it's happening. Remember, Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul are exporting all the illegal aliens into every other county in New York State.
Right.
So it's affecting everyone. So it's not just tourism in New York City, it's New York State. And who's benefiting from that? A couple of politicians and no one else. No small business is winning on that.
No, let me touch a couple of things you brought on that. Number one is not only are there not enough hotel rooms for people to come, but now because the hotel people are getting a bunch of money, guaranteed money from the government, they're not trying to create a better hotel experience because the money's guaranteed. And third, any hotel rooms that are available are now higher priced because they're not desperate for the cash because the market isn't working because the government's throwing money at them. I think it's hit more than what you said. You were right. I should have gone further, but now I've gone further than you.
Yeah, but it's amazing that no one ever talks about it. And you know why? Because Kathy Hochul and Eric Adams are on the, quote, right side of history, the right side of the politics. And we're told, well, you're just a bad guy because you don't want to take care of illegal aliens. Well, one, they're criminals. Two, I didn't ask them to be here. And three, they're hurting more people than we're helping by having them here.
Well, let me touch a couple things. Sadly, I think maybe you didn't ask and some people didn't, but New York Cityans, they did ask for them. So we actually did ask for them as a government, we did. As individuals, many of us didn't. But as a government, we did. And the problem is we don't have a way of handling them that doesn't hurt others. And that's even worse. So I think you're right. Mike, I want to say thanks so much for calling. I got to grab some other calls. So
Keith,
let me grab, if I could, next Keith, if I could, from Rochester. Keith, how are you, sir?
I'm going to have to go spiritual on you. Here goes.
Okay.
Jesus said, render unto God what is God's. We all agree with that. But because we are earthly inhabitants, he also tacked on, but also render unto Caesar what is Caesar. So what you've been talking about this afternoon is what everyone calls the system, with the big shots making it and the rest don't. But in closing, the answer is the people who would most benefit from a change in the system, they themselves are selfish. So unless we all develop cosmic consciousness, a divine way of seeing, like they said Jesus and Buddha had, mere mortals are not going to change anything until they, phrase it, have a true coming to God, and only then morally will the system change. Everything else is money talks, and you know what walks.
Keith, I want to bring this up. I think you've hit on a point that's, I think both Mike and I missed, which I think you're right on this. The laws that I was talking about earlier in New York City, most New York City people agree with it. Why? Because to your point, they're feeling good about it. They're being selfish. They're saying, I now feel good about my situation, so I don't mind punishing small businesses. I don't mind punishing these people because I feel better. I think there is a selfishness. I think you've hit something that neither one of us brought up. I think it's a valid point.
Because I know there's another caller. If people were truly moral, they would put aside their selfishness, get together and work together morally to get rid of the people who are corrupting the system. But because we're all corrupt, it's going to be a long time coming before the ones truly at the bottom will make it. Thank you. Bye.
That's amazing, Keith. Thank you for that call. I appreciate that. I think Keith has a point here, right? This is a cultural change that we need. This is a critical piece. The people have to change and see this. It's one of the reasons why you hear me yapping every Tuesday at 1 o'clock here, trying to get people to see things differently, to have a good conversation and to make that happen. It's a valid point. If we were to think differently in our culture, that might shift things. I like it. Let me grab another call if I could. This is Roger from Nassau. Roger, how are you?
Good. So I'm going to try to say it real quick. Oh, good. So to Keith's point, the only way that's going to happen is if we're a citizen ballot initiative state, so we can pass our own state laws and ratify our own amendments to the New York State Constitution. That's one. Two, think of what the guy before Keith said when he was talking about how the people who are coming here illegally are getting wined and dined at fancy hotels, so on and so forth, while the people here get neglected. Now I want you to think about and tie that to tourism. That's the same thing with tourism, because the dark side of tourism is that the people they what's that word? They do certain great things to the city to make it great for tourism, but the people who live here in the Rosedales, in the Laureltons, in the St. Albans get neglected. The moment that
hold on, let me touch two of those things. One is the piece you mentioned about ballot initiatives. I agree. I think if we had ballot initiatives, people would have to, or the powers would have to petition the people to do the right thing. I think that would help, to Keith's point, to get the people to think about what responsibilities they have and what affects them. Again, I don't think it's perfect, but I do think it's much better. And I think it will spend more time getting the people going there. The tourist piece, I think if you go to a level of place like Vegas or Dubai, I think that's true. But I think if you go to more of a similar, like an Orlando maybe type, or maybe what Vegas was a couple years back, I think you can make it work to where the average person does do better, because if you do it right, tourism is outside money that the small guy can start to take advantage of. I think you can do it right, even though it is challenging. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But what has tourism, to just talking about New York City, ever done for Rosedale, ever done for Laurelton, ever done for the South Bronx? You see what I'm saying? They still, even when tourism was at its height, they were still struggling. So it's like, I'm going to focus so much on people who don't live here to get them to come here, spend money. But all my focus was, kind of like you'd be like, oh, you got that one favorite child, and you're kind of like, you're giving all your attention, love to them, and neglecting like the other three or whatever the thing is. You see what I'm saying?
I here's what I would say. And growing up in the South Bronx, I remember that every Yankee game, people locally did make money. We were selling tickets. We were selling weed. I don't mean to be mean, but we were. We were selling T-shirts and hats. I think people can make money. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Roger, your point's a valid one. We should talk about it again. I'm sorry I have to run away for time. Guys, thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.